Alright, so we have a Bruse Tarl and Reyhan, last of the Abzan deck. It's mostly a +1/+1 counter deck, and Bruse Tarl's in there both to provide access to red for fling effects and white for mostly just enchantment tutors, as well as Vizier of Remedies. So, I mean, also he lets you kill people. Because he gives things double strike and lifelink, which is pretty cool in this deck. I actually used to use Crown Ludwig's Opus, I believe, the flying 4/4 hasty guy, but I got rid of him. I liked white better. Alright, so first card, Skull Clamp. It's not as good in this deck as it is in a deck that's more token based. It does work pretty nicely. Because you do have a decent amount of sack outlets in here. It just won't work the same way as it would in a token deck where you'd like have Ashnod's Altar out, make a token, equip sack, make a token from something. Like it's not the same as like in Gave, for example. Still a good card. I'd still recommend running it. Vampiric Rites, I like this mostly just because it flies under the radar. Is generally not worth a single target removal spell. It does provide you pretty slow but consistent value over time. And it allows you to dodge exile effects. Mindless Automaton is probably the worst draw card in the deck. I would almost just run like Fecundity, or I mean, you could really just start going out there and get like you could do like Phyrexian Arena. There's tons of draw effects that are better than this. I've just been trying it out. The few games where I played it, I used it, like it was fine. But the remove 2 counters to draw a card is like not ideal. So here we got kind of a standard removal suite. Nature's Claim, Beast Within. I always run a Beast Within when in a deck that's got green in it, because being able to hit lands is just so important. Lands and Planeswalkers, actually. Return to Dust. Because it exiles, I think this one's a little bit better just because I think you want to avoid I don't remember. There's like certain artifacts that I've encountered in like kind of like a Staxy artifact deck that people are able to recur that just shut this deck down. So that's kind of the same reason I run the Bane of Progress. I don't think it was Torpor Orb. Yeah, I don't remember what card it is, honestly. But you can run it. Bane of Progress is really good in this deck because it gets +1/+1 counters. The biggest downside to it is the fact that it's going to hit your own enchantments, which is relevant. So we got Demonic Tutor, first tutor, Grim Tutor. I just couldn't find any spare Vampiric Tutors, so here we are with Grim Tutor. Use Vampiric Tutor, don't use this, or just use like Enlightened Tutor. Like there's better tutors than this. Don't use that. Idyllic Tutor is pretty straightforward. Fetches enchantment. Protean Hulk just instantly combos out. You can just fetch like Melira or Vizier of Remedies plus Kitchen Finks plus the 1-mana creature, any 1-mana sack outlet that's a creature. So it combos with that for infinite life gain. You can also just use it to get like 2 combo pieces. You could use it to grab like your Murderous Redcap plus Melira, as long as you have a sack outlet already on the field. So it basically, most of the time, will just win you the game when you sacrifice it or when it dies. Quarter Calling's pretty great. There's enough cheap creatures in this deck. Every time I make videos, I yawn. Drives me nuts. There's enough cheap creatures in the deck that have relevant effects that I think you're pretty safe playing Court of Calling. This should just be Lightning Greaves. Pawn of Ulamog is in here along with 2 other similar effects where when a non-token creature dies, you get to create a creature token. I like that because you are going to end up actually sacrificing a lot of non-token creatures in the deck, either with Persist or just to try and stack your +1/+1 counters and start doubling them as quickly as possible. So Pawn of Ulamog is pretty nice in here. Also, with Ashnod's Altar out, No, not Ashnod's Altar. I'm drawing a blank. It's good for some other reason that I'll remember later on, hopefully. Anyway, so yeah, you do want to have a couple like static effects that create tokens when non-token creatures die. Oh right, because whenever your creature dies, if it had the counters on it and you didn't have Reyhan out, then you just wasted, you know, what you had been building up. I have both the Falconer and the Captain in here. They're both good, but like, I think the Falconer is better with flying. And in my meta, there's like so many people running like angels or dragons or whatever, that you want to have the trample on your flyer. And don't get me wrong, I love those types of decks. I love more fun creature based decks than combo decks. It's just like you literally have to, like, I have to watch out for that stuff. Managorger Hydra, I used to run Forgotten Ancient as well. I ended up taking that out for Idyllic Tutor, obviously. And I think you should at least run the Managorger, if not both. Forgotten Ancient tends to be forgotten, so it can stick around the table. Your opponents typically don't do anything to it. I just keep yawning. It's horrible. Spike Feeder. The life gain on this is pretty nice. If you do manage to get into a scenario where you're getting just stupid amounts of tokens and for some reason you couldn't get Kitchen Finks to combo off, this can at least keep you alive as long as people run like damage based and non-commander damage based combos. Stalking Vengeance is like my favorite card in this deck, honestly. Card's absolutely hilarious. This is a great way to kill people from like nowhere, so run it. I've literally killed people who forgot when they played a board wipe, they forgot this was out and they just died. So it rewards a lot. Like, it rewards both good play and it like punishes bad opponents. Mazarek 100% could come out. I would just throw the enchantment in here from Avacyn Restored. It's white. It's 3 colors, 2 white. And it basically, whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So that card's nuts, and way better than this. The only reason this is in here is because I didn't feel like grabbing another copy of that from like another deck. Couldn't find it to spare in my binder. Don't feel like buying one. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like, there's a lot of things that get sacrificed in this deck, especially like all the persisters are going to be sacrificed. So like, you could use this to just make all your guys like infinitely large. So it's not bad, just nothing special. So here we start with our fling effects, which are just fantastic. This is my favorite way to win this deck, is to make a creature gigantic and then fling it at somebody. It just makes them so much more angry than if you comboed off and did infinite damage. And it also makes them so much more angry than just like killing them with like a commander. So yeah, this is my favorite way to do it. So we have Gerard, we have Fling, of course, Thud, which is just bad, but redundancy. So, you know, Rite of Consumption, which is also bad. So we run it. Brian, which is probably the worst one, especially when you consider the fact that I run Swiftfoot Boots and not Lightning Greaves in the deck. It just makes him even worse. So he's really fun though, and he has lifelink, so it definitely does fun stuff. And then we have Chandra's Ignition, which is pretty much just like the best one in the deck. This is how you kill everybody all at once. It's really funny. Like, it's like really, really funny. And the thing that's cool with it, like all the fling effects, is like, I have yet to have an opponent who is like making me discard, like with targeted discard, to pick one of those fling spells. And then they almost always die from it afterwards. So it's funny. All right, so Cartel Aristocrat. It's just a stack outlet, pretty standard. Carrion Feeder, stack outlet. Bloodflow, Connoisseur is a stack outlet. Vizier is the one. That's the one I was thinking of earlier. Couldn't remember the name of it. It's the 1-mana stack outlet, in addition to Carrion Feeder. I mean, this one's cool because like if you have infinite like sacrifice triggers from it, you get to stack your deck. Varels is surprisingly good. And when I say surprisingly, I mean like he surprises my opponents. Like obviously if you just read the card, you know why it's good in the deck. It puts counters on itself, eating the graveyard, which is important. Since not like you could have a board with doubling season and everything else out with no counters out, like no means of getting counters out and no creatures that make counters. So he does it for himself. And then also you can sack a creature to regenerate him. So good luck killing him with like not Wrath of God, not Damnation, and not Terror. Terror wouldn't be able to hit anyway because it's a short target non-black creature or non-artifact creature. I think it's non-black, non-artifact creature. Astronaut's Altar, it's in Italian. So yeah, so you sacrifice a creature and create 2 colors mana. I don't know why it's in Italian. Sadly, Gristlebrand is actually really good in this deck. And so here's why. The biggest, like, the most powerful aspect of this deck is either Reyhan or Death's Presence. And basically they require a creature to die, and then you create counters equal to that creature's power. For Death's Presence, and then for Reyhan, I believe you just take the counters from it and move it onto another creature. Or you actually, so you don't move them, you put that many counters on another creature. So if you have like Doubling Season out, and Disciple and like 5 creatures on board or whatever, it allows you to quickly create a gigantic creature. So like, let's say you had 5+1/+1 counters on Carrion Feeder. So he's a 6/6, right? So you sacrifice Carrion Feeder. You know, don't sacrifice your Sack Atlas, but we're going to sacrifice Carrion Feeder. And we're going to throw those counters on, I don't know, we'll throw them on a Saproling. So Doubling Season is going to double that. So if it was Death's Presence out, then you're going to put 14 counters on the Saproling. So now it's 15. And let's say we have 3 more Saprolings out, courtesy of Golgari Germination or whatever. And you can just do that and just keep doubling every single time and gaining life every single time. So by the time you've doubled 17, that's 34, and then 68, and then 136 on that last creature. So someone's going to die, and it probably won't be you. So I have Alien here for diversity purposes because it's 2020. Also because she actually allows you to exile target non-land permanent. So that's cool, which you're almost always going to be able to do if you had her out, because you just have to have 10 more than your starting life total. Yeah, Karaj the Guildmage. This guy's pretty cool because he allows you to kill people by giving big things Intimidate. And then also he makes like a large power and toughness Saproling. Sorry, he makes many Saprolings, not one large one. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And apparently we're just gonna go back to Karaj the Guildmage when I click next. Not sure why. Okay, Corpsejack Menace. So this is like your budget Doubling Season. It does the half a Doubling Season that we care about in this deck. So card's fantastic. And then we have Doubling Season, which is expensive Corpsejack Menace. Then we have Hardened Scales, which is good, but it doesn't double, so it's like okay. We also have Winding Constrictor, which is cool, like Hardened Scales. I definitely like this guy. I think, you know, in this deck he's just so important to run. We've got Grumgully. He's really awesome. Because one of the things you have to realize with this deck is not everything has counters on it inherently. In fact, most things don't have counters on them, just like when they come in. So this gets that party started, just like Juniper, Order, Ranger. Both of those are extremely important. And then we have like the big daddy of put counters on things, which is Bloodsport Thrynax. Literally the best card in the deck. It's basically the best card in any deck that has a +1/+1 counter anywhere in the deck. Let me rephrase that. It's the best card in any deck that has creatures entering the battlefield in green. And okay, fine, Creator Hoof Behemoth, maybe. Screw you guys. Kresh is cool. Is he good? Not really. He's basically just like a Death's Presence on a creature. But if you want, you could try and attack people with him and see if you kill them. I have yet to kill anyone with Kresh. He's mostly sat in the hand all game. Alright, Death's Presence. This card is like probably the top 3 best cards in the deck. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to win you games, straight up. All right, so here we have our like card that shouldn't be legal in Modern because it makes me mad. So we got Vizier of Remedies, and we have Melira, Silok Outcast, because drumroll, Murderous Redcap goes infinite with a sack outlet with those creatures, aka it kills everybody and everything except for you. And then we have Kitchen Finks, which unkills you, which is cool. And with Mazarek out, obviously was going to make all your stuff infinite, blah, blah, blah. So you can kind of see where this is going, right? And persist Puppeteer Clique. I have Puppeteer Clique in here straight for nostalgia reasons. You probably should just run like Odious Tro, or like, I think there's a 2-mana artifact creature from like Modern Masters 5 that has persist. I have to find out about that card, and if that exists, I want it. So we got Soul Ring, Gruul Signet, which should just be the talisman because talismans are better than signets. Commander Sphere is cool because it draws you a card, and this deck lacks card draw. I know that the deck lacks card draw, and it's a struggle with the deck, and I'm not figuring out yet how best to address that. When I swapped out Crown as the commander, I lost blue, which means I lost Sage of Fables, and I also lost the super awesome Marchesa. So it like definitely threw the deck for like a whatever that expression is. Birds of Paradise is the only mana dork I'm running. Dryad of the Elysian Grove, which is like one of the best green cards ever made. Yeah, card's nuts. If you don't have these yet, buy them. They're like $7. They're not going to stay at $7. I'm not saying in the next year they're going to go up, but like assuming Wizards doesn't reprint them, which is a big assumption to make, but just like get a couple. It's $7. Just don't drink 2 lattes. Like Farseek, great card. Cultivate, Kodama's Reach. If you guys don't know how to like make mana ramp in your decks yet, these 3 are basically like the core. And then do like the janky whatever else you want to do on there. You want to do like Explosive Vegetation, do Explosive Vegetation. You want to play Journey to Discovery because you don't like accelerating your mana faster than everybody else, play that. We could throw like a Mana Crypt in here or something, obviously. Gyre Sage. Gyre, whatever. Cool card, super cool card. Because it adds a lot of mana based on +1,000 counters on it, that's why. Zhang Yangu is pretty sick in this deck. I would argue that it's strictly better than Rishkar in this deck, and in honestly most decks. It's a 4-color deck, and this just makes that so much better. Plus the dog. I mean, look at the dog. How would you not? Right? Yeah, so also it puts +1/+1 counters on creatures. So remember before we were talking about how like sometimes you need to be able to get counters on creatures and there's just no good way to do it. Like these 2 boys right here do that for you. So if you don't like losing because you can't get counters out there, like it literally is just the worst feeling when Reyhan costs like 50 mana because your opponents don't like what you're doing with your deck and you have freaking Corpsejack Menace or whatever out and no counters to be doubling. It feels bad. It feels real bad. So this is a great way to address that. So basically to make this deck better, you want to have a few more enchantment tutors like Enlightened Tutor. If you're feeling mad adventurous, you could do that 6 mana Plea for Guidance. And then I would recommend more card draw. Because we have like a really low tutor count. Like I guess fine, all EDH decks, like simple rule of thumb, you want to make it better, add more fast mana, add more tutors, and enjoy playing the same exact game over and over again with no variation. Congrats, go play Standard instead. Bye.